Hi, and in this video we're talking about how Japanese maples transition from the summer into fall and how you can best manage that, with lots of hints and tips on the way. Hi there maple fans, and in this series of videos I'll be sharing what I do throughout an entire year on a monthly basis. Please note that these months are based on UK timings, but of course can easily be adapted to anywhere else in the world. So we're starting here with the Japanese maples that I've got that take full sun. These are all south facing, and what you can see that even though it's sort of fairly early into the autumn, some are sort of changing colour already. What's happened is over the summer the sunlight has actually affected many of the leaves. There's Cotonuita there on the top, and we'll come back to these in more detail. But I always find that the Japanese maples that are in direct sunlight do start the transition into their autumn colours much earlier than the ones in shade. And this year is quite typical, and that's exactly what's happening. So this is sort of mid to late September in the UK. Many times the colours are best actually in October. And just quickly to look at these Japanese anemones, they're always a good sign that autumn's on the way. They flower really late in the season, which is absolutely lovely really. Also looking just over here, you've got a second sugi. So that really probably shouldn't be in a pot, but I've always left it in a pot and it's doing really well. So that's probably a good 6 foot tall now. And of course I've got bamboo here as well, which I planted a couple of years ago. Really forming a nice screen, and always adds something to any sort of Japanese style garden, I suppose. And there's a Sakazuki at the bottom, the Japanese maple, that we'll certainly come back to. So this is kind of a bit of an update too, and this bamboo has been really useful in moderating wind, adding some structure to the garden as well. As you can see, it's sort of sprouting out all over the place, to be honest. And as the years progress, that will really thicken up. There's only actually one tree per little trough there, and the troughs there are designed to keep all the roots in place because this is running bamboo, and it would absolutely land up everywhere. So there's the Shiraswan and Moonrise there. It's coloured up nicely over the summer. As you can see, a little bit of burn there on the tops, but really overall been very good indeed. I think having great autumn colours is the reward for looking after the trees well during the year, and just knowing their locations and where they need to be. The Orangeola there is a new acquisition, and it's got a little bit burnt. It was actually in full sun when I bought it, so I thought I'd kind of give it a risk there and really chance it. But overall, it's doing okay. There's some new growth there, but not one of the best. But if you can grow your trees really well, you're going to get better autumn colours over the year. So by contrast, the Acontifolium there has done really well this year. It's kind of filled the pot better. Slightly overpotted by me a couple of years ago actually. Now the pot's filled, and the same with the Shinja Shoujo as well. It's like the tree's given up growing roots, and it's really shot out lots and lots of new growth. So this is this growth spurt that a lot of maples get actually, and that's a really good sign that it's going to produce great colours, and just give me some great results really. The Rhode Island Red there again is absolutely fine, same as Haguramo. Some will sort of do differently in the winter, some won't as they approach winter, What you need to watch potentially with some of these though is the watering. So as the sort of situation changes, some will start to lose leaves, then cutting back on water can be really beneficial. At the end of the day, you're watering a tree, not a pot. So at the moment, like this Makai Yatsubusa, lovely, just starting to turn, which is what you'd expect really. But as always, keep up with the watering. And also noting as well that, to be honest, as it's raining a lot more, the seasons are changing, it's still worth going out and checking that all the trees have some moisture. Strangely, there's just one or two that always seem to escape the worst of the rain or something. If they're sort of heavily rained on, that's absolutely fine. But if they've got a canopy of leaves and the rain deflects off, then they might not get down to the soil. So once in a while, I just like to give them a good sort of soaking while they're in leaf with the hose pipe as well. Watering can, because I just like to know that the roots are really saturated, and it's a shame to sort of let the watering go at this stage, because if we water well, that's going to help the transition into the winter, stroke autumn, and make sure those colours come out in and look absolutely wonderful. So really just reflecting on, this was the year with the terrible spring and not a great summer either. So unfortunately, if people overpotted their plants in the spring, it would have caused root damage through rotting basically. So some trees have really suffered for that. These actually have been in full sun and just really enjoyed it. It wasn't a particularly hot, or there wasn't that much sun over the winter period in the UK here, but these trees have enjoyed the sun that was there. And just to say, if you'd like to come with me on my Acer journey, please do like and subscribe to my little channel. It really helps. I've also recently set up a Patreon site, so that's a great way of supporting me too, and help out with some of the costs of my excursions really. There's also the offer of some personal help if you'd like it, either in a group format or at a one-to-one basis. So this is dissecting filigree, which due to the action of the sun really has changed largely to red. There's little bits of green you can see below the leaves there. And again, trees that have this kind of reddening or colouring by the sun do tend to change into autumn colours fast. So, want to keep an eye out for there. And here we've got Shishikashira. It's just starting to go slightly red in the leaves. It will in fact go sort of golden yellow later on. That actually takes one of the longer times to change. Unlike this Cascade Ruby, which finally starting to live up to its name. So I have put that into a lot more sun in the last few months, but only just now is it starting to change into those lovely autumn colours. So that's a nice development, and we can expect more from that as the season goes on really. Likewise here you've got Sangukaku, which you can stick in full sun in certainly my zone 8 with ease really. It just really seems to like it. And again, it looks like it's autumn colours, but in fact it's the action of the sun primarily, but the autumn is coming and it's starting to withdraw some nutrients from the leaves and give it that sort of extra red colour. Very much the case with this Rayusen, where it's that combination of sunlight plus the actual autumnal process where those nutrients are being withdrawn. But that's a very nice tree for autumn colours actually. And again, we'll develop even further and we'll see those green leaves at the back change into some lovely reds too. Just to note, and very importantly, that you should have stopped feeding by now. The feed that I gave them with the slow release feed that was in March would sort of be coming to an end, and this will help trigger the autumn colours and is part of that natural progression. If you water sort of using seaweed or other exotic mixtures as well, that's fine, but do stop now. You don't want them to grow on into the winter. We want them to sort of start their dormancy period. And if they're running out of nitrogen in the food, that's a really good prompt for the tree to just do that. Lovely Siriu there, again, that combination of sunlight plus the effect of the fall or autumn effect, withdrawal of nutrients. And here we've got Cotoneito. I'm not sure about this one because it was such a lovely lime green in the spring and the action of the sun has made it change to a red, which is sort of where it would land up in the autumn stroke fall anyway. But I might keep that in a bit more shade next year. We'll bear that in mind because it can look nice either way. So here we have a tree that should look absolutely fantastic in the autumn, Asakazuki. Again, because I've kept in a lot of sunlight, it's naturally turned red from its usual green colour. Just to note as well that potted trees like this will tend to turn a lot quicker in the autumn. They really will, particularly if they're in sunlight, whereas the ones planted in the ground were probably like a couple of weeks behind these. But as you can see, there's sort of some differences there. What we've got here is the Baihu tree, and again, because it didn't have perhaps such a good summer and spring, that one's lost a lot of its leaves. So I wouldn't worry too much if your tree's doing that, because it's just how it works sometimes with some cultivars really. That one that's quite damaged there was one that I sort of saved from a previous year, Trompenberg. So I've repotted that down. I'll cut that sort of dead wood away over the winter and we'll carry on next year and see how that does really. These actually on this border here that sort of the sun sets behind it are much behind the other ones, as you can see. And you've got Oridono Nishiki there as well. That looks absolutely lovely and has recovered very well after some frost in the winter. Good to see many of these trees actually do really well. Please don't repot anything this time of year. In fact, I would have stopped repotting it sort of in the middle of the year really, about the solstice, because if they sort of get roots wrapped around the pots inside, that's really beneficial. It helps overwinter them. It kind of offers protection to the roots because they're all snug in their pot really. So in a sense, I think we've grown Japanese maples in pots. It's a case of next spring repotting, adding some extra compost, allowing them over the summer period to grow into that, and then repeat the process next year really. So it's sort of hopping between pot sizes in small stages over the summer works really, really well. So the fence on this border behind the trees runs east-west, so it's sort of the south side's behind it. A little bit of burning from the sort of morning and afternoon sun there, but not too bad at all. These blood goods take a lot of watering now, so it's really good to kind of keep up with it and keep monitoring water intake. Again, as trees lose leaves, they're going to vary very, very much indeed, really. And even as they sort of start to dry out because of the sort of changing process, then that will make a big difference. So just don't take it for granted that they're getting watered thoroughly because it's rained. And sometimes, being honest, it can be a bit wet and cold out there in this season, so it's still worth getting out there, still worth checking. You've got the trees this far throughout the season. It's really worth keeping up with the good work now, to be honest. So there's several trees here. There's butterfly. Again, because these are under lots of shade, they've hardly changed at all. That mononosato is kind of that colour anyway, with the sort of purple fringing. Just starting to see the Jordan here, which I think it's done really well. It's because I've kept it in shade all year, it's maintained a nice sort of green colour. Just starting to change though, just starting to see some coloration there as well, which won't be from the sun. That is definitely the sort of autumn creeping on its way here. These are the two I put up earlier in the year. They're sort of starting to grow and weep down a bit more, so they're doing okay too. And here we've got an orange dream, again very much shade loving. This is red wine and has definitely got a bit of scorching there at the top, but you can't have perfection at this time of year. You really can't. The idea of these trees is they lose their leaves every year and grow a new set, so they're not designed to last forever really, kind of just a season. So we'll be looking forward to some great autumn colours in the very, very near future.